We are in week 11 of 52 weeks. This week, it's Deuteronomy 1 through 15 and Psalms 11 through 17. After the open rolls, Jacob will be here, Vincent will be here, Mrs. Super Oz will ask the questions, and we will talk about what we read this week from the Bible while we followed the path of the Bible in 52 weeks. Jacob, thank you for coming back. Vincent, thank you for returning. Mrs. Super Oz, glad you can read the questions this week. So Vincent, you had said prior to me pressing record that you wanted to frame the questions with the passages they are based around or from.
Yep.
You want to start there?
Yeah, so this is coming from Deuteronomy chapter 1. This is at the end of the 40-year Exodus as the Israelites are about to enter the Promised Land. The nation of Israel has grown substantially in numbers, obviously over 40 years. They've been basically wandering the desert. They've received all sorts of signs and wonders from God. They've done a lot of complaining and a lot of reconciliation. They've basically been built into a nation. So this is the time frame as they leave their final camp, basically, and head into the Promised Land. Moses is still the leader of the Israelites. So I'm going to read chapter 1, verse 9. At that time I said to you, you are too heavy a burden for me to carry alone. The Lord your God has increased your numbers, so that today you are as many as the stars in the sky. May the Lord, the God of your fathers, increase you 1,000 times and bless you as he has promised. But how can I bear your problems and your burdens and your disputes all by myself? Choose some wise men, understanding and respected men from each of your tribes, and I will set them over you. You answered me, what you propose to do is good. So I took the leading men from your tribes, wise and respected men, and appointed them to have authority over you as commanders of thousands, of hundreds, of fifties, and of tens, and as tribal officials. And I charged your judges at that time. Hear the disputes between your brothers and judge fairly, whether the case is between brother Israelites or between one of them and an alien. Do not show partiality in judging. Hear both small and great alike. Do not be afraid of any man, for judgment belongs to God. Bring me any case too hard for you, and I will hear it. And at that time I told you everything you were to do. So Moses is basically realizing that he has too much going on and needs some help, and appoints other people to support the leadership of the Israelites.
I think that happens to everybody at some point.
I agree. That's the context of where these questions come from.
Awesome. Mrs. Super Oz, what is the first question?
Would you consider yourself an enabler or one who empowers, and why?
It's funny, I don't feel like I've ever thought of myself as either of these things. More specifically, I guess I see myself as a person who speaks plainly, but not necessarily an empowerer, because I don't know, I've never even considered the concept of my words empowering somebody, and I certainly don't see myself as one to enable bad, because when I think of an enabler, I think of encouraging or allowing the concept of bad behavior to continue. Like, I don't know, I find the phrasing of the question even hard for me to relate to, I guess.
I think the author is framing this question to people who have other people in their lives who are an obvious burden,
Mm.
to where there needs to be a line between figure it out yourself, you can do this, I believe in you, and I will help you get through this or do something or accomplish something. So whether that's adults with grown children,
Mm-hmm.
or bosses with subordinates, or any other scenario where you have this kind of tug of war of I can assist you in doing everything, or I can teach and encourage and uplift you to then take on this for yourself. So I don't believe this the scripture directly correlates to the question,
That's a good point too.
because I don't think Moses was having this tug of war.
That's true. Yeah, he didn't seem to be enabling the
Right.
negatives that persisted.
Right.
I can't precisely think of a moment when that would have been relevant.
There's probably some overlap in the idea of Moses as a leader of the Israelites, allowing other leaders to come alongside of him and help kind of take care of problems, disputes, arguments, situations where they needed an impartial third party.
Mm-hmm.
So enabling or I'll use a different word, encouraging the
Yes.
other men around him to be strong enough, wise enough, and
But you
available
also, just
to
by
handle
saying
this.
enabling in a different context, brought to light the fact that I give it a negative meaning.
Right.
That was my question, was how do you guys look at that
Yeah,
question?
I
Is
only-
do you look at it negatively or positively? Because I see it both ways. I
Yeah.
can see how it can go both
I
ways.
the light bulb just flipped on when he said that, and I was like, oh wait, there is an inverse to the way I'm looking at it. Because generally speaking, when I hear the word enabling, it's like, oh, you're giving them money so you can go buy alcohol or
Right.
whatever the case
Right.
may be,
Right.
in a negative fashion. And so was my immediate correlation with the word. But you are correct that people can be enabled to, fly out of the nest and in a positive way. It's just it wasn't my initial connection, I guess.
Same. How do you see it, Jacob?
More in a positive. Like when the first thought that came to mind was more of like encouragement
That's good.
type situation.
More like using the word equipping.
Yeah.
Mm.
I'm going to equip you to be able
Yeah.
to do this in the future, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah, I like that.
That's what I was also going to say. Because for me, I don't know that I can say that I'm one or the other.
Mm.
Or I don't know that I can say I'm in one of the two words. I can't get the two words now. But like,
If you empower or
yeah,
if you enable,
exactly.
yeah.
But
And I think it's the empower which made me think enable was the negative of the two.
flip it around, and when I'm thinking about it for myself, I'm kind of the one that's getting encouraged. I'm like in the process of learning that.
Mm.
Like I have people surrounding me that are encouraging me to do these things and are like showing me how to kind of take on these things by myself.
And they're very well, it could be the idea that as time goes on, you do change which role you play in your life and other people's lives. Because, the older you get, hopefully the wiser you get, and
Right.
the more you're able to help somebody that is in a new situation, the one that you had already been through.
Mhm.
So
Right.
perhaps that's...
And to that point, right, Moses spent 40 years in the desert with these Israelites, so he had decades of experience and wisdom now coming to the forefront, where he recognizes this is too much, and I also need help
Mm-hmm.
to make this better. So I think the initial, I would say the initial maybe reaction is we want to help people to a point where like they succeed and feel good.
Yes.
But I think we miss the long-term the long-term effects of not being able to teach them to succeed on their own, right? The old adage, if you give a man a fish, he eats for a day. If you teach a man a fish, he eats for a lifetime, right?
Yes.
In the context of children or people that are under you or people that are you're kind of raising up in any scenario, you definitely want to have those people prepared long term by themselves.
Yeah, I feel like I can comfortably say for your direct staff and mine that they have grown just from being around us. Like I when you're away, I trust your team. And the same with me when I need to be doing something else. I know that my direct partner is or has picked up so many of the things that I even unintentionally was showing him because just by naturally being around each other so often. And so I think that's definitely, it's comforting to know that people are empowered to grow when they choose to want to learn.
Yeah.
So I can't say that I'm trying to empower somebody necessarily because it never crossed my mind, but I have noticed that I'm like, wow, you're pretty good at this when I didn't even realize that you cared, which I thought that was a pleasant surprise.
And the idea of total reliance is good up until a point, right? You think of a child, total reliance on their parents, required.
Oh, 100%, yes.
But as soon as that child gets to a certain age where they're able to do certain things, right? Mom and dad start teaching them, hey, here's how you use the phone, or here's how you make like grilled cheese, or here's how you drive, and here's how you manage a bank account. And ultimately, mom and dad's goal is to get that child to be not reliant,
Correct.
empowered to go out and live their life. Same thing.
Yes.
Like if you look at it at as a spiritual growth perspective. In the beginning of anyone's spiritual growth, no matter when it starts, no matter what age it starts,
Correct.
right? Like some people don't have a Bible, don't know how to read it, don't know how to look things up. They don't know like what to wear to church or how to act in front of a and that's fine. That's the perfect place to start. In comes the more experienced believer to guide the young believer to a point where they can just kind of offload them into society, culture, into their own life.
Yes.
Not sever the tie completely.
Of course.
But teach them how to grow to like here's how you read the Bible. Here's some good steps to practice. Here's some good verses to start with. Here's some good songs to listen to. Here's some good sermons to kind of just get your feet wet. Here's some good practices. All these things.
Yes.
And then when the growth happens, you just kind of you're good. It'll do, right? So
absolutely.
Self-reliance is good to a point, or total reliance is good to a point. And it's the job of the older, more mature, wiser, whatever category they are in, to get them to a point where they're good.
Mm. No, I agree. I agree. In my last job, I felt like nobody wanted to prepare for the future, and
Not good.
it just puzzled me. I was like, you're, pushing 60, you're pushing 70. How are you people thinking
physically?
physically?
Okay.
Yeah, I was like, how are you people thinking you're just gonna live forever? Like,
Yeah.
we need to figure out who's next. Like, who is the heir to this here spot?
And it's the wise person that raises up the next
Absolutely.
generation in whatever you want.
Of course.
Yeah. Because of time, Father Time is undefeated,
Exactly.
and all these things happen. And like, imagine if Moses doesn't have help in this scenario.
Mm-hmm.
He doesn't even go into the promised land.
Yep.
Right? So imagine if everything stops with him, he doesn't have all these other things in place.
Mm.
I can't remember. I would have to look back at the timing if he knows or not if he's going to the promised land. I think he knows that he's not going.
I feel like he knows he's not going.
I think so too.
Yeah.
So whether he's doing this intentionally to set up the next generation of leadership, or it's just a natural consequence of him being overwhelmed,
Yeah.
either way, there's a new generation to kind of take the people to the next step.
Speaking of the next step, you ready?
I'm ready. Good segue. That was real good.
Mrs. Superhouse, what is the second question?
As parents, leaders, or siblings, we have a tendency to run to the rescue. Can you think of a time when you intervened when you should have allowed someone to figure something out for themselves? what were the results?
So as a leader, I probably do intervene too often. However, I can't say what the results were because I don't step back. I don't allow things to play out without my presence, and perhaps I should take my own advice, but I'm not 65, 70, so I do feel like I'm not yet to that place where I think I need to figure out who's next. I mean, I'm always trying to have people prepared for vacations or emergencies, but I'm not really trying to step out and be done. And so it's a struggle for me to think, oh, what are the consequences of being there or not being there, because I don't allow myself not to be there. And even when it comes to a family scenario, yes, my sister always saw me as the leader and waited for me to be able to learn to drive before she even went to driver's ed. But it's like I have no alternate reality to know what life would be like the other way around. So that, again, with this question, I struggle to answer it properly, because often I think that these things are built for parents. Like, if I was to talk about when I was a kid and my mom was scared of me wrecking my bike, but my dad thought it was funny, like, I looking back, I find it amusing, but at the time I didn't understand what the big difference, or why there was a big disconnect. But now, obviously, it makes common sense that my mom was a nurturer, my dad was not.
Right.
But that's okay. I think that they both filled their roles the way they needed to be, because you can't both be scared, and you can't both be built just like, oh, go be wild.
Yeah.
So it was good that... Thank you for being here at Mr. Super Oz. This video is going out, and this channel only exists because I, Oz, founded Gamble Comics, which first release was Everlasting Survivors, a 68-page graphic novel called All Day Long. Available now. Follow the link in the description that will take you to gamblecomics.com. While there, you can get hats, shirts, posters, much, much more, but most importantly, the story itself. Because I can remember before I deployed to Iraq, the Army said, you need to tell us who gets your bills and who gets your life insurance if you die. And so I found it amusing that I said, well, my dad's great at spending money, he can have all my bills, and my mom's great at hoarding money, keeping it back, and not touching it because she was scared of it being gone. So I was like, here, you get my life insurance. Now, the good news is I didn't die, so it never turned into anything more than just a amusing anecdote, like a story to share. I think that it'd be easier to answer the question of, oh, what were the consequences of doing or not doing, if we had a kid to speak about.
Right.
Because I think that's where the impact really is.
The question feels like it's geared toward parents dealing with children, right?
Yeah.
But what about the inverse? What about a situation where you've intentionally stayed out and almost watched things play out, knowing that maybe you should have stepped in to help, or maybe you should have stepped in to like offer guidance? Because I feel like there's sometimes I fall on that side where I'm just like, okay, fine, you can see this play out, but I don't think it's going to be good, and I'm just going to sit back and watch.
Interesting.
Sometimes it's out of spite. Sometimes it's like, you're just going to crash and burn without me, and
I like that.
I'm going to say, I told you so.
That's funny.
But other times it's, hey, here's my advice. Here's what I think you should work. If you don't do it, okay.
Yeah.
After the results happen and everything falls with it, let's come back and let's talk about this again.
Yeah.
So maybe the inverse is more true for me, where I would intentionally step out of a situation, watch it play out, or let it play out, and then kind of regroup on the backside with kind of, see, I told you so attitude, but also like, hey, what'd you learn? Or how'd this impact you? And
no, it does make sense that is definitely an option, and it's a great way to reposition the question to make it make sense, because as far as thinking somebody was ready to take over, there was a time when I stepped out of a role and thought another person could step in and be prepared, but then it turned out they weren't ready, because the the very minute power they possessed made it so that they wanted to rule over all. And it's like you can't in such a very small scale think that you can demand so much from others. Like, I've said it multiple times in the series, and I just say it in life, like, you have to be prepared to serve others if you think that you're ready to lead them.
Right.
So
Imagine if Moses was like a "see, I told you so" attitude. Spend 40
he'd have
years.
just been like, all right, God, go ahead and wipe them all
Yeah,
out.
spend 40
Who cares
years
what
in
the
the desert.
Egyptians say?
gave him the law, told him what to do, and then just like step out and watch them crumble and said, "See, I told you shouldn't listen to the Ten Commandments."
Wow. I mean, and it's true. That's the craziest part. Like, you can't even say that he'd be wrong in that
Right.
in that assessment. He'd be like,
Right.
you're correct there, sir. What is the final question?
Can you see yourself transitioning from one level to the next right now? How has your process been?
I don't even know what that means.
I don't understand that
I
question
don't know
either.
either. That's why I was confused.
I
when
don't
we
understand
were-
that
Because I read that
I-
earlier and I was like,
I understand the question so much.
Let's hear
Oh,
it.
okay.
So,
What's your
Enlighten
take
us.
So,
on it? 'Cause I'm confused.
Transitioning levels, right?
Mhm.
Preparing, the way I understand it is Moses was preparing others to lead, right? And so then obviously he had to change his placement in the, like, he wasn't the sole guiding force, right?
Okay.
If the problem is so big, bring it to me. Yes, absolutely, right?
Okay.
But manage it from here. And so to me, it almost seems like, are you, and you already are, but are you willing to step back and let others,
Got it.
take the lead? Are you ready to this, that, or the other? Help somebody else in their process of growth. I think that there are a lot of people, maybe a lot is the wrong word, but there are definitely people we know that are at that stage of their relationship where they're willing, ready, willing, and able to help others grow. And at one point they weren't there, right? I don't know when it was, but at some point they weren't there yet. But now we can see them, whether it be an Andy or Josh, or I think you fit this, in my opinion. But you're past the on ramp, right? You're now a person who helps others find their direction, and so that's the way I interpreted the question: is, are you ready to take the next step? Not transition, but can you take the next step in the journey of faith to help others find their way?
I think you bring up a good point. In one way of thinking, that there has to be a level of humility
Mm-hmm.
that any person who is going through this kind of tug of war of empowerment or enablement, or do I do everything for this person or do I let them do it for themselves, that type of thing. There has to be an incredible amount of humility on both sides,
Of course.
to where someone is humble enough to relinquish power, control, whatever, and the other person is humble enough to receive it,
Mm-hmm.
right? To where they're not going to wonder why it's happening, or how come you're doing this to me, or like this is unfair, and blah blah blah. So there has to be some humility in that. There has to be just a recognition of things have kind of grown to the max. Like, you kind of hit the max in any stage of life or any position you're in, and it's time to. You can't go the way you're going has ended.
Yes.
So there's got to be another way that starts, and usually when that happens, it starts either from the beginning or a lower
Yes.
status, to where you then build up again
Exactly.
in humility and inquisitive thought nature,
Mhm.
and a readiness to take on or absorb the
Something.
total
I
the
understand. Yeah.
gap sometimes between novice or immature, not like silly.
Yes.
But just like unlearned, right? The
Yes.
gap between sometimes that and expert,
Mm-hmm.
right, or proficient is sometimes huge.
Absolutely.
So having a middle ground helps, right? You don't take a 12-year-old and say, "Great, here's your driver's license." Right? You start them in a parking lot. You start them with
Yes.
like driving around just in an open space without any, and then you allow them to take a driving school and a learner's permit, and you put curfews on how long they can drive, right? All these things.
Yep.
Because the jump between zero or novice to expert is oftentimes too big,
Yes.
to where if that were the case, then you would fail
Exactly.
probably worse off than any other scenario. And same thing with like, let's take it back to like faith journey, spiritual journey,
Exactly.
right? If someone is a brand new believer, just kind of getting into Christianity, and pastor of the church says, "Ready to lead a Bible study?" You're like,
no. Exactly.
No,
Yeah.
I don't even know, right?
Yes, correct.
But if someone says, "Would you like to be in a small group discussion, or would you like to shadow a volunteer,
Absolutely.
kind of get your feet wet, and
Yes.
then kind of learn as you go,
Mm-hmm.
and then when the time is actually right, someone says, "Would you like to lead a Bible study?" and that person says, "Yeah, I think I'm ready for this. Like, sign me up, or let me kind of hear more about it."
Yes.
It's the same thing with that.
Absolutely. Yeah, that makes complete sense because there are, like you said, levels, steps, whatever the case may be. And hopefully, by all of us working together, it gives everybody the drive to want to stay together on the journey. I mean,
On the channel, right? People who are watching.
of course.
If someone is reading along,
Yeah.
they are reading potentially parts of scripture that they've never read before because we're so early in the Bible.
Mhm.
It's hard. The names are hard. The situations are weird. It's difficult to understand or conceptually. But you're starting this journey. And if the journey is literally just to read a couple chapters of the Bible a week or the full block and eventually read the whole Bible in a year, or at least have some furtherance of scripture reading than you did 6 months ago before this started, that's awesome.
Absolutely.
Right? Like that's part of this transition into kind of a journey of faith, and it's a journey for all of us, right? We're all
Exactly.
kind of walking through this each and every day. We're getting better.
Yeah, I don't think I've been in Deuteronomy for at least
Most people aren't.
22 years.
Yeah.
Like, I think that there's a good chance I've definitely read Psalms before, or not before, but since 22 years ago. But, like, Deuteronomy, I was like, man, I don't think I've read that since
Well, especially because we already
the
got
early 2000s.
we already got the law in Exodus, right? Like
Exactly.
This is the second law.
Yes.
A lot of it's just restating Exodus, and you're like, I already kind of read this.
I know, right?
We're good. We can move on.
Well, no, a lot of times I think that the reiteration
Yeah.
is for making a point.
Right.
It's like, all right, that generation in the past
Right.
had
As-
some
as-
trip ups,
As
if
a
you will.
reminder, don't do what they did.
Exactly.
Right. Right. What is a good takeaway from these chapters that we can apply to our daily, like to our regular lives? Like, where's the application from what these chapters were about?
Well, it's interesting. My biggest takeaway, and I literally, Mrs. Zabros can attest to this. I prayed on this, that I was like, what is, my promised land? What is the thing that we're aiming toward, in my life? Because one of the big takeaways from this week's reading was like the knowledge of, God said this is for you. And so I was like, man, I need to figure out what it is that I'm working toward, aiming toward. That am I going the right direction? And while I can't necessarily say that the question is helpful for your everyday life, it's definitely something that I want to know the answer to, because I don't want to be going the wrong way, because if God's point for my life isn't what I'm doing, then I don't want to be doing it.
Right.
And so it's where I'm at right now.
That's a important question for everyone to think through. Probably multiple points in someone's life. You got to think through this question. When I get on this question in my own life, I go back to there's a verse in Matthew, or a couple verses in Matthew that talk about worry, and it, in summary, it's basically like, do not worry, because tomorrow's got enough to worry about. Just focus on today and what God provides for the lilies of the field and the birds of the air. How much more can He provide for us? And then the passage ends with a verse that's summarized as, seek first the kingdom of God,
Mm-hmm.
and then everything else falls in behind it. Everything
Yes.
else is added to, or everything else makes sense, however, whatever translation you want to read. So the purpose, the goal, the promised land is, while we're alive, seek first the kingdom, and everything else will come added to it. We're not promised tomorrow, but while we have today, the blessings of today, the new opportunities, the new mercies every morning, we seek first the kingdom, and everything else comes after that. And oftentimes, the doors are shut or the doors are opened pretty obviously when we're moving in that direction.
Right.
So I think for me to go off of that, right, the takeaway from these verses is, man, there is wisdom in seeking help. There's wisdom in seeking counsel. There's wisdom in allowing other people who have more experience to come alongside of you and help.
Absolutely.
There's wisdom in trusting other people when you're on the same mission, to trust other people to help get the final task done, which is huge, because if not, we're overwhelmed, we're lost, we're angry, we're not our true selves, we're missing out on opportunities. I think that's a good piece of wisdom.
I love having, obviously not just you, but you definitely, but people who are going the right direction, and not just willing but want to guide others on the path, or help put the guideposts up and say, hey, here's the my perspective on how to stay in the right path, because it's so helpful to have allies.
Yeah, for sure. Jacob, any takeaways?
Possibly two. Accept wisdom that's given to you. That's a big one. Sometimes it's hard to do, especially depending on what it is.
Yeah.
But it's most of the time, if not all the time, going to be good for you.
Yep.
It's going to be helpful. And then the other one is, and I struggle with this too, is like when somebody's teaching you something, the whole point of teaching you is not to give you the answer. Don't get upset with that.
Right.
Don't get upset because they're not just giving you the answer. There's a reason for that.
Right.
And I struggle with that all the time. I'm like, well, why can't you just tell me?
Same. Yeah.
But
It's funny. I think I more seek to find out what I'm learning. Oftentimes, when the storm is happening, I'll look up and be like, "What am I learning here? Like, what is the lesson?"
Right.
Because, and I think that comes with time and age. But like, I know that there's something that I'm learning through these struggles. But I don't immediately. Oh, that's the answer. It
Right.
takes time to reflect back and
Right.
and realize what it was.
And what a good and gracious Heavenly Father that allows us to learn through these opportunities and not give us the answer right away, right? Allows us to maybe have some struggle or some waywardness or some on the straight path, and allows us to not have this in a vacuum, right? We're not in a vacuum in all this, right? So like when we're being told something, shown wisdom, when we're learning something. It does not happen outside or removed from other people.
Right.
Because oftentimes the lesson occurs when we don't even expect it, right? Like we're able to help other people or share part of our testimony with people and watch them grow, and you're like, okay. And what a good and gracious Heavenly Father to allow that to happen amongst his full and perfect plan.
That's a great ending.
I was just saying, what a great way to end that.
Yeah.